Hi everyone, it's Fiona Edgar here. This is a video about the upcoming full moon in Libra. This full moon happens very early tomorrow morning if you're in the UK and most of Europe. If you're in the United States, it is going to be happening tonight on April 5th. So let's just get into it. What is a full moon? It is when the sun and the moon in astrology are in opposite signs of the zodiac. So in this case, we have the actual full moon in Libra. The sun is in the opposite sign of Aries. So Aries is the sign of springtime. Now, spring is a joyful, wondrous time. The flowers are coming out, the baby animals are born. However, it is also a time of aggression because it is mating season within nature. And right now, the animals are being more aggressive than usual. They are competing for mates. I saw yesterday the most bizarre thing. I have a lot of land behind my home, and I heard this commotion going on, and there was a bunch of ducks fighting in the field behind my home. I don't even live near any water, so they must have flown by and decided to land there. So there was this poor little female duck, and she was being aggressively pursued by three drakes. So, you know, the beautiful male ducks that have the green heads. And they were just fighting with each other and clambering all over each other to get to this poor duck. So we can experience a lot of hostility and aggression within Aries season. Now, you may notice that people around you are more hostile. There's a lot of dumb arguments about things, you know, especially on the internet, because they don't seem to have anything better to spend their time on. But that's not what we kind of want at the moment. So with the moon in Libra, we want harmony. We want peace. We would prefer to spend our time on beautiful activities, looking at beauty such as artwork, and we kind of just want to be left alone. But the problem with this opposition, so the opposition in astrology is when you have two planets or points that are in the signs opposite to each other. Now, we are not going to get peace, unfortunately, with this full moon. And it seems to be coming from other people. So in the opposition, it's usually you versus some kind of situation, person, group of people, or just something that is the opposite of what you're trying to achieve. So there's a bit of a clash there. Now, not to worry, because this lunation, the energy only really lasts for a couple of weeks. And once we get into Taurus season, it will be a little bit more calm. But let's just look at the aspects here going on with this lunation. So we have something really important. The sun is conjunct Chiron. And Chiron really is about wounds. It can be about especially ancestral wounds, or in particular, wounds to do with your father or your grandfather. And there could be some arguments going on with them, or you could be looking at some kind of ancestral wound that keeps rearing its head. In the mythology of Chiron, he was rejected by his mother. He was then adopted by the god Apollo and his sister Artemis. Now, Chiron did not wallow in his wounds and say, woe is me. He simply got on with it. Now, Chiron did not fit in anywhere because Chiron was a centaur. He looked half beast, but he did not fit in with the other centaurs. They were very beast-like, fornicating and drinking and rioting, but he was this refined and dignified centaur, and he was highly educated because Apollo taught Chiron everything that he knew: the healing arts, music, astrology, and so on. So we may be in a situation at the moment where we feel like we don't fit in, or we're being attacked for our own individuality. Aries is a very kind of individual sign that is focused on the self. So when we are being ourselves, there is nearly always going to be someone that has a problem with it. And they are ridiculous people who have, they just waste their time putting others down when in fact they should be looking in the mirror and maybe trying to take a little look at the wounds that have made them into such hostile and aggressive people. So we could be faced with a bit of that. It will be manifesting in different areas. However, the ruler of this moon is Venus. Venus is in domicile in Taurus. It's a place where she loves to be. So once we get past these problems, the ancestral problems, which really, or problems with family or people in general, the best thing to do is to take the high road. Be moral, be dignified. Do not let yourself get dragged down into petty disputes. So Venus and Taurus also will bring stability within our love lives. But the thing is that Venus is conjunct Taurus here in this chart. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It can really bring a breath of fresh air into any kind of relationships. There is a very exciting quality in this full moon energy. Now, the other thing is that Jupiter is conjunct the sun in this chart. Jupiter is in Aries. It's magnifying these wounds. It's probably kicking off a bunch of drama that you never wanted to get involved with in the first place. However, Jupiter is also about fun. It's about the joy that you have in your life, optimism, being able to look at the future with positive eyes. So we have a mixed bag here. Once we get past the drama and the conflict, we can have some adventures and excitement in other areas. But there may be a kind of disturbance or some kind of issue within relationships that involves change. Now, it's not a difficult, doesn't have to be a difficult change. It doesn't have to be terrible in endings. It's just a change that is going to last for a couple of weeks. So overall, it should be okay. Now, the other thing is that we have Mars in Cancer. Mars is not happy in Cancer because he cannot express himself in the way that he wants. Now, Mars is the planet of aggression, how we fight, what we are like when we are in arguments. It's also the energy that you have every day to get your tasks done. And it is about your ambitions. But when he's in Cancer, he becomes much more slow. People around you will be more passive aggressive. So with the conflict and the drama, don't expect them to be very direct about it. So it could be the usual stuff, gossiping or anything that is passive aggressive rather than direct and honest. So Mars can be a bit of a problem here. Now, on the plus side, he is making a nice sextile to Mercury and Taurus. So that will help you to express yourself. If there's any conflict, you are better being direct. Don't send emails. Don't talk on the internet. Go and see the person if there's an issue, or call them at the very least. So yes, a bit of a mixed bag, this one, but overall it should be good. However, I just want to say that Mercury is entering its shadow period over the next couple of days. So anything that is kind of triggered by this full moon is also going to be part of your Mercury retrograde story. So it could be a while before we get these issues wrapped up. Now, like I say, be dignified and take the moral high ground, but don't let yourself be pushed. Don't let other people walk over you. Don't be a pushover. Don't just give in for the sake of keeping the peace, because With Mercury entering its shadow period, that is going to backfire and you will regret that. So stand your ground, of course, but there is a real beauty with this lunation. You will find yourself drawn to the beauty of nature, art, music. If you're a musician or a writer, it can be a highly creative time for you. It's going to be difficult to kind of communicate really effectively because in this chart, Mercury is conjunct the North Node in Taurus. The North Node of the moon is a difficult area. There is a tendency within modern astrology to think that it's something really good for you. And it is, because it represents an area that we have not traveled to yet. We have no experience. However, with that comes some difficulty. So it's like when you decide you want to go to, I don't know, India, you have to book a flight, you have to make sure your passport is in date, you have to save for it, you have to get someone to look after your cat. You know, there's a bit of hassle that comes with the destination. And that really is what the North Node symbolizes. So with the North Node and Mercury being in Taurus and making this conjunction, where we want to get to is a place of stability where we can communicate effectively. Overall, the whole world just wants some sanity and some stability right now. However, we're not really getting that. So this could be a tricky area, especially with Mercury going into his shadow. Communication is going to be difficult. So just take what other people say with a pinch of salt. Really don't take things that people say verbally as being the gospel. Don't sign contracts and so on. I will make a separate video on Mercury retrograde closer to the time. But yes, we have that shadow going on. So overall, aggressive energy, we want peace, we want beauty, but there's an instability here, mostly coming from an outside situation or other people meddling and trying to interfere or push you into doing something that you don't want to do. So what I would say is just try and distract yourself. I went for a lovely walk yesterday at a forest park, and it was just the most beautiful feeling. And there were trees for miles and rocks and huge, even dolmen, you know, those ancient structures that were built so long ago. And I would just say, go into nature to find some peace. Turn off Facebook or turn off your phone and go and appreciate something beautiful. So now I will talk a little bit about each of the signs and what we can expect on a personal level. Of course, if you know your birth chart, if you're familiar with astrology and you can look at your birth chart and see which houses you have Libra and Aries in, go and check that. So this analysis that I'm about to do, check your rising sign and check your moon sign and your sun sign. And if you know your chart, also take those houses into consideration as well. So for Libra people, the full moon is happening in your first house. The first house is about your physical body, your appearance, and your very identity. So you could be undergoing some kind of change here. Libra loves to look good, and there's nothing wrong with that. So you may be more inclined to go to the beauty salon or something to do with your appearance. There is going to be some shift in relationship as well because the sun is in your 7th house. But mostly it's going to be about your identity. You could attract some conflict here because the moon in Cancer is, the Mars in Cancer is squaring your sun. And you may attract conflict from others, which you don't like because you're a peaceful sign. So on the Scorpio, this full moon in Libra is happening in your 12th house. So it may be a time when you feel a little bit more tired. However, activity behind the scenes is going to end. You will be more, after this lunation, you will be more doing things in public and you'll have more activity. So something in your subconscious may be highlighted here. The 12th house is about the kind of tribal, collective unconscious, but it's also about stuff that you do that can be a little bit bad for you. So you will get an illumination of something to do with that. Pay attention to your dreams. It's also a good time for any kind of ancestral and spiritual work for you. So for Sagittarius, this full moon is happening in your 11th house. This has got a lot to do with the friends, the groups, the people that you choose to hang out with, any organizations that you belong to. There may be an ending here connected to your friend or group. There may be some drama and conflict that you have to go through because of this Chiron influence and Mars. So just be aware of that. And remember what I said about taking the moral high ground if you can. For Capricorn folks, the full moon is happening in your 10th house. This is going to be some kind of change or ending connected to your career, your job. You perhaps will get a new job. You may get a promotion, or there may be a change in work. There could be some drama that you have to deal with in work, that it would involve maybe gossipy people or some other kind of drama or conflict, just to be aware of that. Now, you could be in for a really positive change, though, if you've been trying to get a new job. It's really likely that you might get one very soon after this lunation. So for Aquarius folks, the full moon is happening in your 9th house. The 9th house is all about your beliefs, your political beliefs, your religious beliefs. It's also connected to foreign countries and foreign people. So you could decide to take a journey. Your beliefs may shift or change in some way. So also you could be, if you're in legal issues, there may be an ending. The 9th house is also connected to law and the legal system. Now, this is a great time for you to get thinking about some kind of study or course. If you're already doing that, there could be a change in your course material or the subject matter. If you're thinking about studying, it's a good time to get going on that. So for Pisces people, the full moon is happening in your 8th house. This has a lot to do with your partner's finances, shared resources. It could also be about inheritance money, or money that you get from some other way that you have not directly worked for it. So you could be experiencing a change here to do with that. The 8th house is also about your sex life and the joint intimacy that you have with your partner. So something will change here to do with that. So the 8th house is also about sorrows. There's a tendency to gloss over that in modern astrology, but you could experience some kind of sorrow here connected to a partnership, marriage, or some kind of joint money. The best thing to do is just to go with the changes. The 8th house is where we die and we are reborn. And of course, you can experience a rebirth many times in one life. So go with the changes and don't try to avoid it if it's happening. So for Aries people, this full moon is happening in your 7th house. There's going to be some change or shift to do with your marriage partner or your relationship. It does not mean that it has to end. Absolutely not. It's just a change in a cycle. So for example, it could be that your partner starts to work away for longer. It could be that you experience more intimacy. Now, because this moon is challenged by Chiron, there will be some like conflict that you have to go through. You could have an argument with your partner that eventually puts to rest a lot of old rubbish that has been a problem between you for a while. So if there is a dramatic showdown, you have a fight, make up, get on with it. And Jupiter will ensure actually that things are going to go really well for you, because Jupiter is in your sign. And that is when you experience this kind of wonderful rebirth and you have optimism. You could experience maybe a change in a relationship where you go to the next level, engagement or marriage, and so on. So for Taurus people, the full moon is happening in your 6th house. This house is about daily routines. It's about how you work, how you manage your daily schedule. So there can be a change here, or it's highlighted in some way. Now, it also could be about an illness because the 6th house is connected to diseases and your health. So maybe you feel temporarily unwell for a few days around the time of this full moon, but it will not last for long. There could be a change in a pet. The 6th house is about our pets, cats and dogs that we keep at home, or pet pigs, or whatever it is, smaller animals that you would keep around your home. So for Gemini, it's the full moon is happening in your 5th house. This should be a good time for you, Gemini, because the 5th house is about fun and the stuff that we do that brings us joy. So you could experience a new level of that in terms of your relationships. If you have a child, the 5th house is connected to the house of children. There will be a change here with one of your kids. Doesn't have to be a bad thing, but there may be more drama involved. Maybe perhaps your child is getting bullied at school, or they're in conflict with other children or the teacher. There will be a flare up of that over this lunation, but then it comes to an end shortly after that. So for Cancer folks, the full moon is happening in your 4th house of your home, your family. There's going to be a change here. You above the other signs could be experiencing some family drama. Now, Mars is in your sign, so you're naturally attracting more conflict than usual. The Sun in Aries and the Moon in Libra, they actually make a T-square, which is a very challenging aspect in astrology. So you could be the scapegoat for some kind of family issues. There may be some stuff that comes from the past that you have to deal with once again. You may have to put some of your family members in their place because the 4th house is about mother, father, you know, all of your family members. So stand up for yourself. Now, if you notice, we have Cancer, Libra, Aries. Those are all cardinal signs. So the missing leg, or the missing cardinal sign, is Capricorn. The key for your survival to this full moon will be to do things the way that a Capricorn does. They are structured, disciplined, organized. It is the archetype of the father. They do not let people walk over them. So take a leaf out of a Capricorn's book, and if you experience any drama, it's very tempting to get all wound up and explosive. Cancers are easily hurt, especially when it comes to their family. So just be a cold Capricorn. If you have to turn off your phone for a few days and not talk to them for a while, please do so. So for Leo and Leo rising and moon, the full moon is happening in your 3rd house. This will be a change or a shift connected to your siblings, if you have any. Also the vehicle that you use to get around every day, your car, your motorbike, whatever it is. There will be an ending here or a change. You could buy a new vehicle. You may have something wrong with your existing car. You need to fix it or get a new one. There could be some drama with siblings here. So just to warn you, but overall, this should be a pretty good one for you because Libra and Leo get along. They make a nice aspect together. So finally, for Virgo, the lunation is happening in your 2nd house, and that has got to do with your money, your finances, your personal resources. So there will be a change here. Something is coming to an end in terms of your money. Now, you could get a pay rise. You could start a new job or some other change within your personal finances. It doesn't have to be a bad thing at all, but there may be some drama attached to it because of the nature of Jupiter and Aries, the Sun and Chiron all together. So you could be in conflict with something to do with your money. This is definitely a time where you will be prone to more impulsive spending and impulsive buys. Aries doesn't think. Aries is the archetype of the warrior. Warriors are trained to make decisions between life and death within seconds. So when you have that energy in your second house, you will go against the kind of stereotypical, cautious Virgo, and you may buy something impulsive. It's also a good time for you to get involved with some kind of financial planning and so on. So that's it for all of the signs. Now, there's just one thing that I wanted to mention about this full moon in Libra, because it really seems to kick off something in the United States. I was looking at the astrology for the United States. Now, I know we have all of that stuff going on with Donald Trump. I haven't been following it. I don't really follow any politics anymore. But this full moon, it happened right on, well, by 2 degrees, it's conjunct the Saturn that United States has in its birth chart. Saturn is about the control system, discipline. And when you have a full moon on here, there's going to be some change within laws or restrictions. And Saturn is a planet that could be it's like a disciplinarian. And you may have something going on in the United States to do with this. Not only that, but Mars is conjunct Jupiter in the transits for the United States today and tomorrow. What does that mean? Well, Mars is the planet of, it can be violence, it can be explosions, it can be some kind of, extreme protests, or at the very least, there may be some very controversial stuff going on in the States at the moment that might kick off tonight or tomorrow. So the other thing that I noticed was that Jupiter, transiting Jupiter, is conjunct Chiron. So the Chiron in the birth chart of the United States is in Aries, and it's in the 4th house. Now, that, of course, means that the United States is experiencing its Chiron return. That only happens once every 50 years. So there's some real stuff going down here. But Jupiter is conjunct that Chiron right now. It will be in effect for another few days. It's in Aries, so there's going to be a bunch of drama attached to it. There will be some conflict. So do watch out for that if you're in the United States. I'm not sure exactly what will go on, but the United States is currently experiencing its Pluto return. And that doesn't happen very often. Pluto is in Capricorn in the birth chart of the United States. It's about structure and power and force. So there is some kind of extreme change going on within the country of the United States. So with that, I'm kind of done with all of that now. So what I would like to say is I have written a astrology cheat sheet. It's 5,000 words. It's basically a cheat sheet of how to read a birth chart. You can buy that on my website. I will leave the link below. Don't forget to join my Telegram channel for free daily astrology clips. I'll leave the link below. And if you would like to become one of my students over the summertime, you can join one of my courses. So that's it, guys. Thanks very much for watching, and I will be back again soon.